this is too close. Oh no. Okay. Oh my god. I fucking did it.
Y'all, this was my Everest. Hey guys, in today's video we are going to be putting together the FlexiSpot E2-V3/E2LW-V3. I am unboxing everything here. You can see I outlined everything on the floor with painter's tape just to kind of get an idea of where I wanted the desk to be and kind of how big it would be. You'll see my two cats appear throughout this video. The small one is Gracie, the one on the box right now is Ghost. They are a lot of fun, so they'll be around. I just start off by unboxing everything here. I'm yelling at Ghost because he's doing something behind the camera. Taking out the instructions, starting to read everything. Now, something I do want to say, this desk probably should not be put together by just one person. The instructions/box do recommend this is a two-person job. However, if you don't have anybody locally that can come help you do this, it is possible to do by yourself. Now, would I recommend it? No. But in a pinch, it is possible. Just, take it slow, take it easy, know your limits, get help if you need to. There's always apps, people you can hire, things like that. So I'm just laying out all the pieces here now, making sure that we have everything. Taking a quick water break before we jump into the madness. I'm going through all the parts. I like putting together these sort of like flat pack type of projects, but man, this was something else. Looks like Ghost finally settled into his little perch up there. So he can watch from above and supervise. So I just start putting together the base, the legs of the desk. This part was pretty straightforward. The instructions were pretty easy to follow right off the jump. It is nice the way that it comes. It gives you two different ways of putting the desk together. You're not locked into one L shape or the other. You can do either, whichever fits better in your space. So that part is nice. Just double checking things to make sure I'm grabbing the right pieces. The one thing that I did not like about the initial instructions are they have you start building it this way, upright, but then it immediately changes to it being upside down, which it then is in that position for I think the rest of the build, because you install it this way with the tabletop. So if you have two people, that's great. If you don't, honestly, I would probably suggest not starting to build it this way. You'll see in a couple minutes, I ended up having to take it all apart anyway. So this was just the beginning. Like I said, this was my Everest. I ended up redoing things quite a few times, which, you know what? It is what it is. Sometimes that is just part of the process. I started building it one way. The instructions do give you an A and a B to follow, depending on which side you want the L, the long side, to be on. I thought I wanted it this way, which is why I started building it this way. And then I ended up having to pause because I had to wait for a different part. So I'm just moving it back here to kind of move it into the space, see how I like it. At this point, I want to say it's around here. This was day 2. Me revisiting this. And I realized that I did not like this L shape. I wanted to switch it to the other side. I was thinking Originally, I wanted to have the shorter side toward where I'm sitting now to make it easier to get in and out and to fit better in that space where the bookshelf is, but honestly, I think that it was going to be much better for the long side to be on the opposite. That way, you know, all of my sort of work stuff, my computer monitors and everything fits in on that side. So, gotta give Gracie some snuggles, some pets, while she gets involved here and climbs on my lap. Oh, she's so cute. My little trippy girl. She's only 5 pounds. She's so teeny. Okay, she settles down. So I decided at this point that I was going to rebuild it the other way. So I essentially had to take everything apart. This ended up being a waste of time because I ended up having to redo this at the end with the tabletop. So honestly, don't bother spending a lot of time on that in the beginning because it's not worth it. These instructions were really lacking, I will say. There were many times throughout this build that I just was like, what WTF? Like, what? What do I do? So I finally start to put things back together. I believe this is me putting the long side together on this side and then switching the short end to the other side. I think this is me deciding that I liked that better. Okay. I then got to this part and realized, well, here. This is where I start reading the instructions and I'm like, what the heck? I then realized this part was stuck. This part was actually broken for me. It's supposed to come out like you can see in the other one. It's supposed to extend, but mine was not extending. So I took some pliers. I tried to yank it out. This is me doing some research on my phone. I was really frustrated at this point because I was really excited. Day 2, I was hoping to get my desk completely done at this point. But I had a defective part, and despite my best efforts at trying to fix it, which actually led to me cutting myself with pliers. Don't do that at home. If it's defective, just accept it and submit for a new part. So that's what I did. That's what I'm doing here. I'm submitting a form through the FlexiSpot website, even though I purchased through Amazon. I will say, as frustrating as that was, they made it really easy and they got me a replacement part shipped out right away. I had it within 2 weeks. So this was after I got the part, so I had to wait a couple of weeks. This is now day 3. Day 3, but you know, we're like 3 weeks in at this point after I got the original delivery of the desk. But I finally at this point had everything I needed. So we decided we were going to move forward and continue the desk build at this point. Turn that make the desk go up and down. So you definitely want to make sure that these are perfect. I had to use a paper towel there because the replacement that they sent me, there was a little extra grease on it. And it was a little it was just a little gross touching that. So you'll see me use that a couple times. So then we moved on from that part. That had taken so much. But we got there. We finally got there. So now these are the supports for the desktop. Now, the desktop itself was really frustrating. So this desk, these legs here, the frame, is sold separately. You can just buy the frame and then get your own or make your own desktop, or if you have one already, you know, that you want to repurpose from something else, you could do that too. But I did not have anything like that, so I ended up ordering the actual top that came with it through FlexiSpot, through their site. I mean, I got it through Amazon, but it was the FlexiSpot top. So the instructions came separately for both the desktop and the frame. but there were some things that like applied from one to the other, so it was a little bit confusing because some of the hardware you had to use from one to the other, but it didn't exactly specify that. So I mean, overall the instructions were extremely lacking, but I do wish that they had been a little bit more specific here. But I will say that assembling the desktop itself, despite the fact that it was super freaking heavy, it was so so heavy to try to do this all by myself. But you know, it was nice that it came in 3 parts at least, again allowing you to customize you know, which direction your desk would be. Obviously it's really important to make sure that you get the configuration correct on this, because pulling this apart would not be easy. There are wooden dowels here that you saw me just put in, and then there's extra reinforcement brackets to keep them held in place and together. So this part was relatively easy to assemble. I will say this was probably the easiest part, just a lot of using the Allen key to wrench those screws in. So at this point, I'm like, all right, how am I gonna get this on top of the desktop? I'm like, do I try to put the desktop up and then put it on top of the frame? I decided that probably that's not what the directions suggested, and I figured that was probably gonna be too hard, and I'm glad I didn't do it that way. So I ended up just leaving the desktop on the ground and just very slowly kind of stepping the frame over. Now you have to be really careful with this, because it's pretty sturdy at this point, but it's not super sturdy yet. So the things do kind of wobble around a little bit. You obviously don't want to pull too hard in one direction or the other. You kind of want to just very gently step it, you know, one side at a time, until you get it into the position that you want it to be at. So I ended up having to take the legs apart again. Like I said, guys, this was a really rough project. And I swear, I'm usually really good at putting this stuff together. At this point, I think I was looking up more instructions for the desktop, and so this is where I'll share the information. So when it comes to this desktop, there were a lot of pre-drilled holes where the frame legs are. Those were fine, but when it came to the support bar, which you can see over kind of by the instruction booklet over there were no holes. And the instruction manual did not let you know that you had to drill any holes. It didn't give any information as to how big to make the holes. Now, typically you can take your drill bit and you can match it to the size of the screw that it comes with, but it just, I don't know, there was something about the fact that this was such an expensive thing. You know, it's so heavy, like I was not gonna be able to return it. It had to be done right the first time. I'll save you guys the trouble. I ended up calling the FlexiSpot customer service. I went back and forth with them several times on email. They like did not understand what I was asking for until I got on the phone. The first person I spoke with did not understand what I was asking for either. They put me on hold. They ended up hanging up on me after about 10 minutes. And then finally got to speak to somebody. They gave me the dimensions. I will come back and put the dimensions in here so that you have them. You can purchase the right drill bit if you don't already have this in your kit. But this was something that just, it was so crazy. They couldn't even give me the American measurement in terms of the drill bit size in inches. That was really frustrating. But we got there. It's not the exact size drill bit. I don't know. It's just different. They don't really make that size readily available. At least I couldn't find it at my local hardware store. So this is the size that I ended up going with. It ended up working out really well to drill the holes that I needed in the desktop for the support bar. So to save you some time and headache, just go with this one. So at this point, then it was just a matter, my headlamp went bad like right before this. I had just recently used it a couple weeks ago prior to this, but I guess it died lot in that time. So unfortunately I didn't have a hands-free light, so I had to use the flashlight on my phone to try to see in, because the grooves on the support bar were so deep that I couldn't actually see it without shining the light in there. So this is just me installing the frame support bars to the actual desktop into those pre-drilled holes. At this point, I'm just figuring out, do I need to tape off my drill bit? I ended up not having to because of how I didn't want to move the piece. I wanted to just drill directly through the hole on the support bar. So I did that, and because it was so deep on the actual support bar already, I did not have to put any sort of tape on my drill bit to know when to stop, because it wasn't deep enough for that. So honestly, the drill bit could have been a little bit longer. I probably didn't go as deep to pre-drill the hole as I needed to, but so far so good. It's been about it's been about a month or so, not quite. It's probably been about 3 weeks since I finished the build of this desk and have been using it fully loaded. So got some help from Gracie. She decides to go and sit in the one patch of sunlight popping through like the little angel she is. I'm just tightening up the screws, doing some of the initial drilling with that drill, but again going in with that screwdriver to make sure that everything is properly secured and not overstripped. You know, if I ever need to do anything with this or replace a part, I want to make sure that I can actually back the screws out, no problem. At this point, I'm just clearing off the extra sort of wood shavings from screwing things in. So this is me installing the support bar. Once I got the dimensions I needed from customer support, it actually ended up going pretty quick, which was good. Just putting on the final touches, making sure everything gets added. My back was starting to hurt at this point, y'all. Okay, and at this point I was done building. Now I have to get the desk flipped over, which, you know, the base is like 80 something pounds, the top is like 100 pounds. This is why they tell you not to do this alone. I tried to flip it the one way, and then I realized where the legs were that was gonna put too much pressure. It was gonna put too much weight on the one leg, so I just decided to switch it, and that way it could go over on the two. So this was really hard to push over. Again, don't recommend doing this by yourself, but you know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So once I put the furniture slider feet things under the desk, that helped a lot in terms of being able to just slide it around and do what I needed to do. And then let's test it once we get everything plugged in with the actual mechanism here. And let's give it a test. Survey says, yay! Smooth like butter. This was really exciting. I was very happy about this. Okay, thanks for being here for the installation, put it together, and voila, this is what we are left with.